Okie dokie, let's start this up. Sorry for all the delays today. It's just everything that could go wrong did. So let me get this going, and then we will be off to the races. Yep, these things happen, but it's all good. Okie dokie, let's start this up. I also got the things, and anyone turning in or anything like that will be able to vote or anything like that if you haven't already. For the next new show, which we'll announce at the very end, but let's get right down to it. Let's get going. Okie dokie. So, episode 10. Satoru continues watching out for everyone alone, as well as we find out the killer's identity, which is just absolutely fantastic. Everything like that. Well, let's get right on to it. Cool visual trick to continue to his Satoru's film reel for flashbacks without obviously saying it, to show the original timeline. And then Yashiro's words giving Satoru hope in the original timeline through visual cues, i.e. bright light, instead of explaining that it brightened up his world and everything like that. Funny to see, no matter how hard you try, some people are oil and water, i.e. Aya insulting the boys and everything like that, since she was kind of raised up by, you know, more posh parents and stuff like that, and she kind of viewed everyone above, you know, herself above all the other kids. And then, just a little nice Easter egg, Satoru finally finds his original gloves in the hideout after she spotted him and stuff like that. No, Goddess, we beat it, remember? I'm doing the anime review show right now. And then, Aya being a bit of a realistic tsundere, you know, Japanese term for someone being cold, hostile, even mean. If they can't express their emotions, so they gradually, you know, warm up to whoever they like or anything like that, kind of violent outbursts. Sometimes it gets a little ridiculous. But I digress. Funny to see the kanji in the back of the classroom in Satoru's room is actually just everyone who wrote out hope. Okay, and then, glad to see another friend, Kazu is the one to hit it off with Aya. And they actually even allude that they end up getting married, which is really funny. You find out more about that in the manga, that they ended up hooking up. And then a nice little nod to Romy thinking of Satoru and everyone. Seeing their loneliness. And everything of that nature. Here, I can change that over. Could have sworn I switched up the thing. Maybe I just hit update again. Saving them from their loneliness, and then Satoru realizes without skipping a beat, the killing targets aren't set up in stone, and the killer can change his victims. And then slowly people are starting to realize how isolated Misato, the girl who tried to frame Kaio for the money lunch theft and, you know, stash it in Kaio's backpack and everything, that with Romy bringing it up and showing and the show steadily showing it as it was progressing and stuff like that. And then with Satoru now trying to keep Misato safe and watching her, the show is clever enough to show the bullying the other girls were putting her through, and more insight into the plot as Yashiro was going to give them a ride to the event, which we don't know what it is at that very second. And then with Satoru overthinking to watch over a potential victim, we learn from his friends it's the school's hockey team playing, and most, including Misato, are going. And then just a little side note and stuff like that is One thing I've always loved about this series in particular is just the pacing of it. Of all the information we learn is natural. It's never like a super expose or like exposition or info dump where it's just like, why would anyone even ask this? This is just a plot hole and stuff like that. But I digress. And then Satoru takes a chance to make sure Misato is safe and asks for a favor to follow Yuki's business truck for fear she's there from Yashiro, which ends up being a huge Achilles heel. And the big spoiler, still need to make a graphic for that. That after all this time, that we find out that Yashiro, Satoru's teacher, is the killer. And we learned his moral grounds are very similar to Satoru, yet extremely twisted and extreme. And then we also learned that Yashiro was also thinking and planning as he saw Satoru's progress, adapting, and his plans being forwarded, suspecting and setting a trap, including all his MO fallbacks. Even for this, like hey Shred. How he even set up like, oh, I'm gonna order this food from the one company from Yuki's truck, like he was gonna set him up before. He put laxative in her drink so she would go to the bathroom and be isolated and alone. That's a decent one. Yeah, I can't really look at it too far from like right where I'm at. Just little things, and then making sure that he rented a van and stuff like that, and rigging the seatbelt so it would lock in place. And then Satoru's own potential feelings, personal feelings, stopped him from putting the pieces together as Yashiro was on the list, but he dismissed it from the future from a few episodes ago. And then one of the only changes I don't like with this version is that they didn't show a passive time with Satoru hanging and being with this group of friends playing, and Inai's development and stuff like that they grew to become friends, and you didn't get as big as like a feeling that they were all hanging out even after school and stuff like that, like just little things like that. And then I gotta blow my nose really quick. Let me get this fast. Okay. So, what else? We learn that this is the future. It's 2003, and then it's 15 years in the future, 3 years before the original timeline starts. Just to mention the Wonder Guy record again, that was Yuki who gave it to him, and because it was his favorite superhero of all time, you know, growing up, and a lot of his life was like affected by it. And we found out this in the new timeline that Satoru has been in a coma for 15 years. In the manga, in live action, it's technically 14, like give or take a few days. And then with his mom crying and saying good morning as he finally wakes up after all this time. And then nice touch as the revival film starts when Satoru awakens as well. And the story details how Sachiko painstakingly took care of Satoru, and a nod that Satoru's thoughts are of his younger self, hinting at his memory loss, because all the other times it's always been the older version of Satoru in his headspace. But yeah, Sachiko would like go out of her way and do like 2 to 3 hours every single day of physical therapy for her son, moving his body around and using electrical impulse and stuff like that to keep everything running, since your body does break down being in a hospital bed. And then a very nice direction to show Satoru's memory loss and stuff like that, just stuff like that. And then we have a heartwarming, like an absolutely heartwarming reunion of Satoru's friends, Hiromi and Khemia, visiting him in the hospital and telling him, oh, it's like I became a lawyer, which Khemia still wanted to do because of his father and stuff like that was one. And then Hiromi becoming a doctor because he was wanting to take care of Satoru. And then we get to the big one, which is Kaio visiting and finding out she's married to Hiromi, and they also had a baby together. I know a lot of people like kind of get disappointed and stuff like that because it's kind of sad that it's like, well, we thought Satoru was going to end up with Kaio and stuff like that. But it's, it's okay. That's life and everything like that. And I'm actually more glad that they moved on and, no one waited for anyone like that. That they just weren't stagnant, stuck in place. And then we even have Kaio remorsing along with the group and feeling responsible for Satoru and his everything that happened with him with his memory loss. But he still comforts him, her, and then everyone else that it was his choice and his decision, and it didn't have anything to do with him. That of his what happened in the end. That it was his responsibility. And then what's crazy in a blink of an eye moment is Satoru's having his doing his physical therapy is when you notice the other patient, Kumi, which you learn in a few minutes later, that she gets up and she goes to greet someone in the doorway. That it's actually that's so cute. Yeah, I mean Pizza Hut Girl is kind of canon romance. Yeah, no, she is. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely is. It's more hit home in the manga because there's a whole build-up with it. But yeah, I digress. So yeah, we see Yashiro actually standing in the doorway, watching Satoru doing his physical therapy and stuff like that, and they don't even address it, which was like really, really cool. Just like a little thing that if you notice, like off in the distance. We also see in the new timeline that Sawada and Khemia, Sawada being Sachiko's partner from the TV studio, her old colleague, they were actually teamed up and they were still investigating all the previous murders and stuff like that, because we did find out. I can't remember if it was, if they did this well in the anime or anything like that, but Kenya's father was actually the man who, yeah, no, they did, but they didn't go into super depth. That he was the one defending the man that Yashiro framed the previous murders on in the other town over, and that he was piecing it together as well. And then a major change for like the anime versus the live action and also the manga is that the Yashiro catches the paparazzi trying to make that horrible story that Satoru's like a pedophile and stuff like that, because with God, I can't remember her name now, with the other patient. I wrote it down. Kumi. Yeah, that they're trying to spin like a gossip rag and stuff like that, and he destroys it, which in the original thing was Irie finds them and destroys the thing, and that's what's triggered Satoru's memories, not seeing Kaio and stuff like that. And what's sad enough is the shock of everything that Satoru like learns back again is puts him in like another coma that like I think it lasts like 6 months to a year because of just the absolute stress of it. And then they finally explain the name change. Well, they don't explain it, but well, they do. Yeah, but I could go into further detail. The name change for Yashiro was marrying and being brought into his wife's family, a very common thing in Japan if a family has power or a legacy or anything like that. And in his case, it was for the legacy because his father-in-law was a councilman, and that's what he became later in life after he was a teacher. And then crazy how the show can actually ramp up the tension with our knowledge of the killer and Satoru's ignorance, but in that moment you think it's ignorance, but really Satoru actually knows and he has his guard up and stuff like that. But he's feigning ignorance. And then a bit of bad rush pacing to have Yashiro tapping his figure to trigger Satoru getting his memory back. But at the same time, it's actually a clever ploy, because as like the audience member, it's like, okay, like really, did he just get his memories off that? But it was really from Kaio early. It's like, dang, you were playing ignorant for that long. Just little things like that. I don't know, this is like the weakest part of the story, like compared to the live action versus the like the manga and stuff like that, and that's why I like recommend the live action people, because like this part is like non-existent. It's just like, okay, we only have like 2 episodes to go, we have to rush through, we don't have anything else to build on another arc, which there was one. And then yeah, the trivia of the ED and the OP, the gunshot at the end of the opening is actually the hospital roof in the same part where Satoru falls in the next episode, which is real crazy. And then the ED, the part with Satoru on top of the bus that Kaio stayed at, is alluding to allegories of spice, which is why you see the hamster wheel right there. Which is like, it's little details like that that you don't notice, which is really trippy that the show put, you know, time into. But you see a lot of like these OPs and EDs. If the entire show is like done, you like the manga and stuff like that, they got much more freedom to like put in these Easter eggs and stuff like that. Not with like long running shows where it's like they have no idea where it's going, so it's just like action shots and poses. But yeah, I digress. And then finally, the last episode, episode 12, the end, the killer caught after kind of too fast of a climax that most have the issue with, and why a lot of people like are kind of rip on the anime, because it's just like, yeah, it's rushed. It's like, it's a fine ending, but like it's an okay ending, but it's not fantastic. And I'll go over the difference, and I'll actually do spoilers for if you don't want to watch the live action or read the manga, like how it really ends. And it's crazy, it's cool, and it's like practically 2 arcs instead of 1. And then we get a restored OP. The eyes are still not scratched out or anything like that. And then a big change versus like the manga versus and stuff like that is Misato was the one who suggested helping Satoru by asking her friends with the to do a fundraiser for all the medical costs and stuff like that. And this was what I was saying with that actually like Kaio came back and stuff like that before, like Satoru, like right as he was befriending Aya and stuff like that, she was the one who suggested stuff. Well, they brought in Misato and stuff like that, and they kind of bonded over the fact that Satoru had saved, that they felt, you know, Satoru had saved both of them and stuff like that, that she became more friendly and stuff like that, and they actually gained a friendship. I feel like this part was done a little bit better in the live action though, that you could actually see them like fundraising pleading and like going to see the hospital and helping out Sachiko and stuff like that. And then we get a major reveal too that Yashiro has killed or attempted since Satoru, since he's so hung up on him, as he was the one victim that figured him out and stuff like that. And then we sadly find out that Kumi is his next potential victim, switching out the IV bags for instead of the thing to put her under, an actual muscle relaxant that would just basically keep her conscious, and she would die during surgery and whatnot. And then a small little Easter egg is that Sachiko left her hair long in this timeline, which is real trippy. She didn't cut it shorter. She actually looks younger, even though she's got a slight bit more bags wearing for her son over the years. And then we get a heavy symbolism showing the rain, the spider webs, the hamster wheel again, as Satoru goats Yashiro into making a mistake. And then here's the one part that so many people have such an issue with the anime, is after Yashiro lets go of the wheelchair and Satoru falls and stuff like that, and then he looks over and sees him, the wink, just because it's so cheeky, kind of like out of character for Yashiro. Like, he was so careful, and then in the last second of all this is where he makes just a pivotal like this huge mistake that he's never been known for, just rushing it at the very end, where it's like the only thing that he ever like looked for is like, okay, you have a cell phone? Nah, you don't use that. And that was like practically it. And then the one line, it's like, I get where Satoru's coming from with saying that belief should be natural as air, but to say I believe helps in the bleak times, even if you already know, or sometimes even forget, just through the hard, through some of the struggles life sends you through. And then it's funny that it's like everyone's like, oh, you lost so much time. It's like, but did Satoru really lose that time though? It's like he already lived in the original timeline and went through it once. And we find out also at that same time that it's like Satoru's never had another revival, so it was all those events then that kind of triggered the ability. And then we find out now that Satoru became a famous mangaka, finally got it, and his works are getting adapted into anime. He's got his own little studio. And what's really funny and like a clever little nod is that his clothing, like his normal dress clothing, when he's at the company, getting his next chapter reviewed, is that it's a combination of his clothes with Yashiro's, like his coat and stuff like that, like his light coat. And his face is like a little bit of a mixture of his original present day, where it's a little bit skinnier, but like with a little bit of the pudginess of his cheeks, of his like kid counterpart, as if he's like a combo from the experience. And then also when he goes outside, he's got a grown-up version of his childhood clothes, which is I never realized, like, the first few times I watched this, that I was like, oh yeah, it's a combination. Same with his childhood friends when he sees them at the end of the episode in the bar reunion, that they're all wearing like a different older version of what they were wearing before, with slight little differences here and there, especially like Misato. And then we finally hear Satoru's poem and true insight from his trauma that followed into adulthood in the original timeline, along with his entire arc of even when he was a kid wanting to be this hero but never taking the step and the courage, Yuki, to do so. And then the trademark butterfly with Satoru doing Airi's pose and then seeing her again, which is really, really, yeah, it's heartwarming. And her still being the same person, asking the same questions, and still being carefree and stuff like that. Just, yeah, it was a really nice touch. And then we have a really, really crazy food for thought and stuff like that. But, that is pretty much it. But this is the one question I've been wondering myself as I read through this before. Which is, so Satoru lost his ability for revival after the other one, and then he came back 15 years in the future, right? That also means that all the other people that he saved all over the years, if you go back to episodes like 1 and 2, where Satoru's explaining revival, that it's like, oh yeah, all these years I've been saving people, and it's only brought me back a few seconds. Does that mean that all the revivals he ever did throughout the rest of his life were null and void. Did someone else get the power and they did it or anything like that? But yeah, it means in saving his childhood friends and stuff like that. Yes, he lost like the connection with Irie and stuff like that, but all the other people that he ever saved in that whole timeline and stuff like that, it never happened. Just to give people some things to think about. Okay, so now I get to check Discord. I already looked at it before and I set it up and everything like that. We'll let it load. But now that we're done with this, now we are going to set up the next show, and of course we're going to do 3 episodes again. This is these 3 shows are longer segments. They're about 24 episodes to 26. They're all much easier to find. They're on like 4 websites. I checked them all. And I'll give details on like Discord. I'll put like the OP and the ED on the Discord page, as well as links to make it easier, since I can't really do that until I like upload the video on YouTube. Let's bring this up and we'll see who wins. Bring it up. So let's see. And we got... Okay, the 3 choices. New friends, trying to get with each other's best friends, guy has no clue, girl loves him, comedy ensues, and then the oddball couple navigates young love. It's the very first option, which is new friends try to get with each other's best friends. Ironically enough, that people chose that because it's like my second favorite anime of all time, which is Toradora. Good old Toradora. Been trying to buy this for years. Sad enough, it's never dropped price. I've been trying to buy the hybrid for like so ridiculously long, but absolutely great show. You know, original title Toradora. It actually means in Japan, which usually it's called, is Dragon X Tiger, for, you know, shipping purposes and stuff like that, like people do. And absolutely fantastic story of I mean, it's kind of a spoiler, but you have to say it for how big the span of the show is, which is Ryuji likes Taiga's best friend, and Taiga loves Ryuji's best friend, and they also, like, the best way to describe it is they call Ryuji a delinquent because he looks like a jerk and a punk, because that's how his dad looked. He was like a Yakuza kind of looking guy. And then Taiga, they call her the Pumped Up Tiger because she's really cute and doll-like, but she's actually really vicious and kind of got like a tsundere complex, but to a point where she'll like deck anyone who gets in her way and stuff like that. But it's an absolutely fantastic show, and like I said, I'll try to today put up the this show has actually 2 OPs and 2 EDs, so I will post the very first OP and ED in the pages, and I'll also do that on YouTube when this gets uploaded, and provide all the links to watch it subbed or dubbed. Both are fantastic. I'm more personal to the sub, but great show. Okay, and then other than that, we're gonna throw this to a pause, but yeah, we're done with the very first anime.